Hi, my name is John Brooker, and I'm really delighted today to see so many of you on the call and to support Cristian Boldisteanu, and I hope I pronounced that correctly, Cristian. Good. And he's going to be talking about a project that he and his colleagues in Romania worked on about supporting people in Romania through the crisis with SF, and I've no doubt with more lockdowns across Europe now, there'll be more support coming forward from everyone. But we're going to hear how they did it. And so this is Building Community in a Crisis with Cristian Boldisteanu, and maybe some of his colleagues from that are here today. So Cristian, I'm going to hand over to you. Thank you and welcome.
Thank you, John. My name is Cristian Boldisteanu. Congrats, John. You did a wonderful job with my name. I know it's a tongue twister for non-Romanians. I'm excited to be with you today. It's not my first SFiO meeting, but it's, I think, the most charged for me, but I'm sure as we go along, it will get better. For today, I prepared a small presentation and a story about a project. Thank you, my colleagues, for being here and looking for the support and interventions. Feel free to interrupt and ask questions, and if you have any ideas or insights or curiosities, feel free to interrupt me. I'll just tell you a few words about myself. I come from an IT background. I managed the company for 12 years, and this is where I got into contact for the first time with SF. In 2016, I attended the training, and now I'm working as a solution-focused coach, as a consultant and trainer. And since last year, I also began a systemic psychotherapy training for couples and families. And this year, I also started training for emotionally focused therapy for couples. So I have quite a broad spectrum, but it makes sense. Another important thing is that together with 10 of my colleagues from Romania, I organized a project during this crisis starting in April. And I was the coordinator of the project. And when John suggested that I make a presentation about that project, it felt like, yes, we're going to talk about the project, how it went, what impact it had. But as the story progressed, it became more and more about the community, and we'll see together why, and we work together to see what we can get out of this idea, our experience, and of course yours. Before going to the story and the rest of the presentation, I would like to warm up the group a bit and see. What do you think, what comes to your mind when you talk about community? And in order to do this, I suggest we use a Jamboard so that you can, we'll use the breakout rooms in groups of, let's say, 3, and you can make notes of ideas that you get when thinking about community. Let's just pick who wants to share. How was discussing about community in the breakout rooms?
Yeah.
Wendy.
Yeah, I think, well, talking about community is already community building. It felt like a micro community talking about it and exchanging about it and feeling that, noticing that we all, interpreted, or we all had similar answers. So it was already very community building to talk about what is community to us. Yeah.
Thank
and
you.
The community the community we had in mind was our solution focused community, of course, and what it brings us. So, but it was very connecting to talk about what's a community. So thanks for the question.
Thank you, Wendy.
We discussed the physical community aspect when one of our members had moved recently, and that whole thing about how you now create a new community physically around yourself when in lockdown it's quite difficult to have that sort of first face-to-face connection that allows you to spot something that is your connection. So we talked about community actually being that thing where you find a connection with somebody, and then that whatever the connection is, that then creates a community of other people who have that similar thoughts, ways of thinking, and or ways of being, or something in common, then allows you to create community. So we discussed how you can generate those opportunities now in this different way of being.
Anybody else like to contribute about their discussion?
Yeah, so what we discovered also, it's about taking care for others, and we grabbed some examples, like, for example, what Jasper mentioned, also the list, solution focused list. Even if there is coming no response to a request, someone is taking over, so nobody is left alone. Yeah, and in Switzerland, there are some villages, they ask for neighborhood support. And loads of people were offering it to go do shopping for elderlies, for example. This is something what happens. And what I try to do is at the moment finding a platform where I can build community online so that it's not needed to meet face to face. So this is something what we discussed, but I think there was even more. Tara, I think you mentioned something with the children. Maybe you can add it if you want to.
Yes, I was just talking about what I noticed through my work with young people and conversations with young people, how supportive they were to each other and their sense of community. And I just thought that was really important to add, because sometimes they get a bad press, particularly in the UK. But really noticed their sense of community and increased sense of community. But actually what I noticed from our conversation as well, that it was global community conversation about how similar the things that we were doing in our individual countries, and so that global sense of community was lovely. It's a really enjoyable conversation, so thank you.
Maybe I can contribute from our 3 women's German speaking group. We talked about how important it is to listen to each other and to talk about the needs and listen to the needs to find out the mutual needs.
Mm.
And it was very important at first to get to know each other, to be able to present ourselves and know the other ones in the group. Thank you for that, Cristian.
Thank you, Julia. Does any of my colleagues from the all-male breakout room want to share? We are finding commonalities between the members.
Yeah.
Like German.
I would like to carry on with what I was saying in the breakout room. It's all been said really, but when we actually really think about community, it's, as I said before, it's about social justice. It's about the individual relationship. To me, the beginning of social justice is the relationship between the individual and the community. I've only been up here in this house just about a year, and we've been in lockdown basically, or not being able to do things for nearly 9 months. I still feel as though there's a sense of community here. And the idea about trying to actually help through virtual from Cristian is actually a very, very good one, because I was actually thinking about that idea about 4 or 5 days ago, trying to actually find them. And our next door neighbours are very well inclined, but they're all of our age. We're actually living in a cul-de-sac really of about 40, 50 houses, but the closest ones to me are all of my age. So therefore we've communicated with them very well up to lockdown. I've phoned them up regularly, see how they're doing. They're doing it with me as well. So it is really having that sense, having that relationship, and trying to enhance and grow that relationship between the individual and the community, so it can really, really spread out. I actually think we're all on here. We've talked globally on this before, but it's now thinking and talking locally more, which will be a benefit to your local community.
Thank you, Aaron.
Thank you.
Cristian.
Yes. Shall we continue then?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for that, and thank you for all these connections that you created and the different stories, because I feel like every breakout room had a different flavor depending on the ingredients and people that were inside. So I will give you a bit of a history and also of gratitude, because the first time I heard about SFiO, Petra, our colleague from Bucharest, told us about this wonderful network of SF practitioners that spread worldwide. And it was in one of our projects that we did together in Romania. So one of them was the Soul World CE conference. I didn't have the pleasure to participate in 2016 in Bucharest, but the 2018 edition took place here in Timișoara, where I live, and also some of my colleagues from the project. And after this conference, which was also supported by SFiO, we got together in a similar way, like I heard some of your stories. Like, we have some people that get together that share a similar interest and feel connected. And at that time, I remember with Judith, we were thinking of, okay, what could we do next? What would be a way to keep in touch and enjoy the company and work together? So we decided to organize a volunteering project that happened last year, where we offered team coaching to different non-profit organizations in Timișoara. What's interesting is that we were 4 coaches at the time, and you see we are 11 now in this new project. So our community grew as a result of having this first project that was smaller in scope down the line. And the project that we'll discuss today, we called Solution Focused Coaching Project, because we didn't want to make a very long name. And it took place from April till September. And of course, it took place online. We were actually preparing to organize a second conference when lockdown hit. And we said, okay, we'll not be able to make a conference, but we can do another project where we could offer coaching to people affected by this crisis. And just to give you a bit of spatial orientation where we are, I'm not showing the globe, I'm showing Europe because it's easier. So this is Timișoara, and here you can see it's Bucharest, the capital of Romania. And I think, as you can see, we are close to different countries, to Hungary, also to Austria and Serbia. Timișoara is I would say, a special city because it's very multicultural. And this is something that I think also helped in the building of the community and being also open to working together. This is the team. So we were 11 coaches that we worked in this project. When we go to the to a bit of statistics, we had 36 individuals that registered in the project in one organization. And out of these, we worked with 34 participants, 30 of the 36, and a team of 4 from that organization. Our reaction when we started the project was we had this team, we had this idea. We were sure that offering services to people in need would be like a huge boom, and we will have lots and lots of work with many, many participants. But actually, we realized that not so many people registered, and of course, we were competing against a lot of other initiatives offering help, psychotherapy, counseling, support, and so on. And rather than being something that would impede us going forward, actually we had to adapt and say, okay, we need to get our message across. And this basically pushed us to have a more professional presentation. And yes, and we also, out of this, we did 119 coaching hours, and after the coaching projects, we asked for feedback from the participants, and their feedback was out of 10 of 9.7 Net Promoter Score. And if you're not familiar with Net Promoter, is everyone familiar with Net Promoter Score? No. So basically, if you ask someone how would you rate this project, they're more inclined to please you and give you a higher grade. But if you ask them, how likely would you be to recommend this project to someone else that would need it, they tend to give a more honest answer. So this is the type of question that we asked, and of course, as you can see, we got a really good score out of the participants. So what we did was we used social media to promote the project, and we made these kinds of posts where we shared messages together with pictures and presented what we offered, and invited people to subscribe to register to the project. The first one says, would you like to find out what coaching is and what could you get out of it? The second one was, who could you gift for free sessions of coaching? And we also shared the pictures that you saw earlier with the profiles of the coaches to make it more human, so people could see us and get to connect with us and get more registrations. I was thinking when I prepared this presentation what would be interesting for you, and I thought that maybe the needs that they had would be interesting. So I created a tech cloud out of the messages that they were submitting for registering to the project. I took out the keywords, and of course, if you know a tech cloud, the more frequent the word is, the bigger it shows. So these are most of the keywords from their needs. What do you see? What are your reactions, and do they match with the people that you worked with in these times? Yeah, Ruth, I see you nodding. Which keyword drew your eye?
Clarity, and also trust. I think for people at the moment, that's the clarity issue is quite a big thing. Knowing what's going to happen, knowing when it's going to happen, how's it going to affect them. That seems to be something that I see coming through a lot. People are very anxious about the future. So that was always coming out. It was also interesting, some of the smaller words, I thought, the ones that perhaps didn't hit so often. So the sort of I was surprised financial security was small, but because for some people that I'm coming across, that is, that's front and center. But I guess if it isn't an issue for you, then it isn't there, if you see what I mean. Whereas if that is an issue for you, I wonder if in your hierarchy of needs it sort of rumbles to the top. So yeah, really, really interesting.
Yeah. So also our experience is that the financial need was rather than an underlying point, because the clarity is first, what do I do? I might get fired, or I got fired, what do I do, rather than how am I going to get the money. So yeah, you're absolutely right. Any other ideas or feedback?
I was like when Ruth said about clarity, with all these things, there are always mixed messages coming out. And if people like leaders, to actually really get the best out of the information departing and the true emotions of the leaders, it's, when you look at it, it's looking at the three basic social needs of the community in lots of ways, and basically they are basically about the caring, It's about clarity of vision. It's about communication. If you get all those three right, and the clarity actually stands out instead of the mixed messages coming across. Mm-hmm. And I see clarity is very important coming from the leaders when they're actually disseminating information. So I would tend to agree with you that on that, Ruth, by the way, but that's my view as well.
Mm-hmm. So when you mentioned leadership, Owen, I was thinking, where is the leadership in the lives or the realities of our clients? And actually the lack of leadership, or the feeling of being lost, actually was the thing that drew them to our project. I might get fired. I don't know what to do. Is it time to change my career? I need some clarity about my options. Means that I feel alone.
Well, I actually think coaches coaches in lots of ways are actually leaders, because in lots of ways they're most of them are very experienced anyway, and coaching and leadership go together. Mm-hmm. So I actually think the mixed messages that have come across from the UK and come across from the world, people need, so people can make the decisions in their life, they need clear information. We've been getting worldwide lots of mixed messages. So and that's globally. So if you take it back to a local, take it back to locally, then you've got leaders all the way down the line, and it doesn't matter what. It's not about rank. It's about those people who are actually willing to go out and do things in lots of ways. As I say, but there is a link between the leaders, and it's the relationship between the leaders and the community themselves, which is important.
Andreas?
So it's the conversations really that they really need.
Yeah, what strikes out, and I agree to you, Owen, for me is that emotions are there in the middle, but very, very small. And when we go to the supermarkets and buy tons of toilet paper, it's not about a need, but it's about our emotions. So might be that people have difficulties to connect to their emotion, to fear, and yeah, there's optimism, there's trust, but there's also courage, very small, and focus. There are many aspects of emotional life not on the page, not that large as there should be, from my perspective. So it might then be an indicator that we should connect a little bit more to our emotions in this situation, and coaches could help with that.
Exactly. So this is, of course, a big part of our work, and thank you, Andreas, again for that parallel. Was about emotions, was about working with that fear and seeing opportunities and getting the anchor that makes me feel less lost. Of course, here we see their a bit of their story, because we see there, I have a conflict with the management, I don't know what to do, I need to develop, and so on. Some of them are what they have, some of the words are part of the story, but I think we already got the feeling and the vibration of the people and their need for clarity and the other points. Any other inputs? Anything else that you see? No. Okay. So we had a meeting last 2 weeks ago, I think, where we presented. We had a chapter meeting where we presented the results of our project, and we talked with some of the coaches, a few participants, and people curious about what we did. And what was interesting is that much more of the points that you mentioned in the first breakout room of connection and togetherness and being there for each other were relevant, rather than the coaching, rather than the project and the results and the numbers. Because we were thinking back of our journey as a group of coaches, and how important it was for us during those times to be able to meet every week and connect and feel useful. And maybe if Christina and Judith, or I don't know who Ioana is, it sounds Romanian, maybe you can help me with your perspective. And yeah, Judith?
Yeah. So I'd like to mention how valuable was this for us 11 coaches as a community. Yes, we were talking about giving, about being supportive with our clients in need in this project, but also it was an extremely valuable experience for us as growing. And I'm talking here about moments in which we were sometimes feeling lost in the process, sometimes being very enthusiastic, sometimes being without any alternatives for marketing and so on. And suddenly being together, working together, being tolerant with each other, and seeing the goodness in us and applying solution focus in our team. So it really was extremely a growing experience for us. And yeah, we were patient with one with each other, and we were listening to our needs, and for all of these mixed feelings. So it was a really growing experience for all of us. This is my feedback from what we did together. Thank you, Cristian, for leading us in this project.
Thank you.
For staying grounded and being there and helping each other to grow, because we also grow as professionals, not only as humans, and it was great. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Christy, if I may, I would add a couple of things to what Judith said. And as we're talking mainly about community, I would note, or I would draw one thing that I realized that it happened a lot of times in the meetings. And so just to paint a bit of a picture, even if you've seen the number of our clients or people that came to this project and used the number of hours that we were offering, we were still meeting every week. So we had a regular meeting every Monday, meeting for, in theory, 1 hour, 1 hour and a half, ending up sometimes towards 2 hours. And what I wanted to highlight out of this meeting is that there were occasions when actually the entire meeting was only about, so how are you? What has been going in the last week? What's different? How was it? And things like this. So what's new about you? How do you feel? And things like this. So it was a lot focused on how we were as a group. How can we support each other? So what happened for you? Oh, okay. Do you have any questions? Do you have anything that we can share among ourselves now? And I think that's the point that exactly got us to be at the end of it like a community and act like that strong network and have those reliable pillars within it and say, okay, so no matter what, if I have a question, I'll go back and ask the group. Or if I have, if somebody raises that hand and says, look, I think I would need somebody to talk to right now, I'm more than sure that everyone in that community knows that it's safe to go in that spot and ask and open up and say about those things. And that's what draw us to continue to do that and generate things like, so is anyone interested in about a certain topic? And let's take that topic, only the ones that are interested, and let's grow exactly on that area because we want to learn more about that one and we want to support each other to grow on that topic. So yes, it was a brilliant project for all of us to grow. And it was also a wonderful thing to just generate that community and get everyone around at the same virtual table as we were never in the same room at the same time. But it was indeed a wonderful opportunity to put people together and go through different stages and be mindful of what solution focus is and how can we use it not only with our clients but also with ourselves and within a community. So thank you everyone to was part of it, and thank you to everyone now that you're like listening and trying to help us reflect on that experience and see what we can take out of it. Thanks.
Thank you, Christina. I attended a workshop about burnout, and it was very interesting. I don't know if you heard the term compassion fatigue. What Christina said, that having that hour, because most of us work either as coaches, maybe HR managers, trainers, and so on. The whole day we were there for people, listening to people, containing their process and working with them. And we had this meeting where we knew we could be ourselves. Said, this week was really hard, or I'm really down today. Having this sense of being able to share and being accepted and being supported by the community. So this was really, really wonderful during our meetings. And this is what the transition from the project, from the work, from the results, from the people we work with actually the process of the group and what we got out of it as professionals and as humans. Thank you. Do you have any questions or curiosities so far? Paul?
Maybe I do. So I got here because I saw your event on Facebook, and I saw like sort of an invitation to talk about how to build maybe a community in times of crisis like we are right now. And I also saw your project, like a colleague of mine, maybe you know her, Paula Abram. Yeah, so she actually, we work together in the same company, and from her I found out about this project, and I was curious sort of to see maybe if I can contribute somehow to this. I don't have coaching experience, of course, but I do have training experience, and I was curious, to see maybe if I can bring something to my community, let's say, with this. Yeah.
Thank you, Anna. So yes, Paula Avram is one of our colleagues. I suggested we because this is a really interesting question. We got it in the meeting where we presented the results of the project, where people said, okay, you did this great deed and you volunteered and you helped people. How can I help? How can I how can I support this thing that you are doing? And it was a very interesting question and took us by surprise. And then we thought about it and we realized that we need, because of course, one of the secondary drivers of this project was getting coaching known, getting people to know about SF, having this first contact with SF, these 4 sessions that you could get, and people were really surprised, and we saw a lot of the feedbacks like, wow, I couldn't imagine that I could get so much out of 1, 2 sessions or 4 sessions. So we really need people who can connect us to people interested with organizations and so on. This is a really great help, because we go on Facebook or LinkedIn, we see a lot of offers, a lot of colorful banners, but we don't know what is behind them. So I think there's a lot of great opportunity there. And we started 2 weeks ago to have these public and open chapter meetings. In the first one, we presented the project, and we'll follow up with different topics and presentations. So you're most welcome to join us there, and we can find out together ways to reach more people, get more help. Because if you look at the numbers, we had a lot of coaches, but we need more clients. We need people to find out about SF and what it means. So thank you for volunteering and offering to help. That's really great. And thank you for being here.
Thank you for for having this or creating this opportunity for us. I think it's really important that in these times we focus more on being together somehow. Yeah. Thank you.
I don't know if you know, but Romania went through a really difficult period under communist rule for about 45 years. And in these times where people, things are hard, and we go back to what's important, like the people around us, to feel safe, to be healthy, and so on. I thought a lot of those times, because people were together much more. We have the proverbial cup of sugar. I don't know if you know about it, but sugar was restricted. You couldn't buy as much as you wanted. And if you wanted to cook something and you needed sugar, you took an empty cup and you go to the neighbor and you asked, neighbor, can I get a cup of sugar? So this kind of help, I think, got me to think about those times. And of course, we have more parallels if you see my screen. So we have this photograph of the Spanish flu and how similar those people look to us, even though all their clothes are different. And then I continued through on this rabbit hole, and I got to this idea or image, and Romanians here know the clacă. Clacă is a word that had some negative connotations at the first, because it was about forced labor on the land of the landowner. So villagers were forced to work there. But then, of course, it morphed and it symbolized working together on something. So, for example, women would get together and work on knitting. Of course, people are not doing a riot here. As you can see, there's a guy playing the flute, and then they go to cut the grass for the animals. So even if the times are hard, they would dress nicely. It was like a celebration, and they would go and work together. And what do you think they do here?
It's corn.
Yes, it's corn. What do they do with the corn?
They're shelling them, I think.
Exactly. So the corn, once it gets back from the field, you have to take the seeds, the corn out of the thing. I don't know how you call the thing.
Husk.
Husk, exactly, is the husking process. And basically what they did was people would get together and they would help each other. So for example, one family would do this now, today, and another family would do it in 2 days. And they would all go and help each other. And this, of course, built the sense of community and help and being together for the others and contributing, because we can imagine that if a family had more people and a family had fewer people, in the end, it wouldn't matter because they would all help each other. And this is the idea that got me back to these basic needs. And like Andrea said, the emotional needs that we, also for the clients, but also for the coaches, we need to fulfill in times where things are tough. One thing that we did after the meeting, so I think that was in September, was that we got together and said, okay, let's have a retrospective meeting and look back at what we did and how it was for everyone. And we did also a small poll of the team, and these were the results. So the question was, what would be a word that would describe your experience in the project? So we see, I think, a nice mix of the connection, of the being together, of the community, and also the experience and the growing and the experimentation in this project. So this was the feedback from the coaches. Okay, and we also, of course, I couldn't help it. I asked the same question for the coaches, and we got even a higher net promoter score. So the question was, would you recommend this project? How likely is it that you would recommend this project for another coach to participate in? Okay. So now we are going in the final part, and I would like to hand you just 2 ideas. And I think we got a clear view of what we have here. So we have the people, like you mentioned in the breakout rooms. You need the people that share something, share this being there for others, share the interest, share the willingness to give and to help. You need the pain. And of course, we don't like to talk about the problem and focus on the problem, but here, I think that the pain of the people and the pain of having this energy and this enthusiasm and not being able to share, and also the idea of how to do that. And to talk a bit about the idea, and I think we also covered this a bit in the chapter heads meeting, was that we had something like, we are volunteering coaching to the school, but people are not really into it, and it's not sticking. It doesn't have any traction. So we feel like we are chasing the people that are involved in the project. And actually how we started the project last year was that in one of our meetings, we got together for lunch, and Judith, if you remember, we have the school that had this challenge, and coaching would help. So this was the idea. But then we in time, I think in one of two meetings, we stretched it out and we opened it and we said, okay, what if we don't offer coaching to this school, but we offered it to teams in general? And then we said, okay, any team in any organization that is not for profit can work with us in team coaching, and they can register. So then we opened it up and we got the registrations, and we got, of course, some of them were not into it. Some of them, maybe it was not the time. but some of them really were there, and it helped them, and it worked great. So, and of course, it's about the projects, because the vehicle that drives this is not just meeting, it's not just having an idea, but really looking at it as a project. What do we do? Who we do it for? How long will it take? And this, we said, okay, we'll do it for a month, and then we stretched it out because we were so enthusiastic when people registered, and we had two more registrations. So then who takes this and who takes that, and so on. And in September, of course, we said, let's stop here, and now we can think about other projects that we can start in autumn, maybe in parallel with different flavors or targets or specifics. Okay.
May I ask a question, Cristian? You were talking about 36 people who signed up.
Yeah.
Now you're talking about projects. Is this more people that joined after those original 36, or does this include those 36?
No, the projects, when I'm saying project, is that actually the vehicle through which we offered the coaching both last year and this year was actually a project. Mm-hmm. So we are doing this. This is a project that we are starting. It starts here, ends there. It's for these people. This is these are the people, these are the coaches that do the project, and so on. So this is what I mean when I say it's about the projects. It's not only about the community, because our community wouldn't be what it is now if it weren't for the projects that we did together. Because just like Judith mentioned, the growing pains of the community and being able to contain the enthusiasm on one side of wanting to volunteer and the frustration on the other hand that we don't have enough registrations actually made us work and get more people, make it more visible, and work together. Some of us worked on the materials, on the pictures, and so on. Mm-hmm. And by the way, the graphic part of the presentation, the materials that I shared here. So these kinds of pictures, and where was it here? The marketing part, we were helped by a designer here in Timișoara that volunteered her work for our project. And I discussed with her, and she said that if any other chapters or projects would like to use these materials in a project, we can provide the templates to replace it with your text and images, and because it's something that took us a bit of time and effort to get looking so professional. So I think this is a resource that we can share, and also, of course, everything that we learned about the registration process. How can you get the 11 coaches synchronized on the schedule and be able to distribute the registrations? What would you like to include in the feedback form? How it worked for us, what we learned from it. It's something that if you're interested, we can discuss. A special thank you for Judith, Christina, for being here and sharing with us and having my back.
Thank you very much indeed, Cristian, and your colleagues too, for presenting this and making it actually such a community event.